Good morning, students. Today let us see ER model, entity relationship model. Right? An ER diagram can express the overall logical structure of a database graphically. The diagrammatic notation associated with the ER model is known as ER diagrams. Entity. Entity is a thing in the real world with an independent existence. Attributes. The particular property that describe an entity. If suppose an entity set does not have sufficient attribute to form a primary key, then it is called weak entity set. If it has a primary key, then it is strong entity set. Composite attributes. Composite attribute can be divided into smaller subparts which represent more basic attributes with independent meanings. For example, the address attribute is a composite attribute. Simple or atomic attributes are those that are not divisible. Single valued attribute versus multi-valued attributes. Most attributes have a single value for a particular entity. Such attributes are called single valued. For example, age. Multi-valued attributes may have lower and upper bounds to constrain the number of values allowed for each individual entity. For example, the colors attribute of a car may be restricted to have between 1 and 3 values if you assume that the color can have 3 colors at most. Stored versus derived attribute. Two or more attribute values are related. For example, age and date of birth attributes of a person. The value of age can be determined from the current today's date and the value of that person's birth date. The age attribute is hence called a derived attribute. The birth date attribute, which is called a stored attribute. Let us see the notations. A rectangular box represents entity. A double rectangular box represents weak entity. A diagonal box represents relationship and a double diagonal box represents identifying relationship. An oval represents attribute. If suppose it is a key attribute, then you should underline it. If it is multiplied attribute, I am supposed to have double oval. If it is composite attribute, then I should include it as a sub-attribute to the main oval. So you have oval linked by a number of ovals. If it is a derived attribute, I will have dotted oval. Total participation is represented by double lines between R and E2. Cardinality ratio is represented by 1:n between E1 R and R E2. Structural constraint min max can also be represented on the participation between R and E. Now, let us see a small example related to company database. So, a company will have n number of employees and n number of departments. So, employee works for the department and few of the employee manages the department. And each and every department is controls some project. Right, and then among these employee, one of the employee will act as a supervisor for 20 employees. So we will have a self loop here, supervisor supervising, and we are supposed to maintain the detail of the employees. So we have dependent relation. It is weak entity set because you don't have here primary key. Right, let us see bank database. Suppose a person working in the company, right? Now here that employee should have all the money transaction linked to a bank. So he can apply the loan. He is supposed to have the account, right? If he wishes, each and every employee will not apply for loan. Only few will have. So customer database will be maintained, employee database will be maintained, account details will be maintained, and all the branch details and the payment details will be maintained. Let us see the university database. In the university database, the faculty instructor act as an advisor to the student and they teach us each and every section the respective courses. So the various relations are department, instructor, student, section, course, classroom and time slot. And all the relations is represented by your diagonal box. Thank you, students.